Come, let us sing joyously. Joyously to God, raise a shout for our rock and our deliverer. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. Page 132.
Zaru
together this evening. Hine matov u'manayim.
Hine matov u'manayim she'lerachim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim she'lerachim gam yachad. Hine matov
On page 138. 138.
Ya la 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 lechadoni, ya la 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 likrat Kabbalat, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat tekabel, ya la 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 lechadoni, ya la 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 likrat Kabbalat, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat tekabel.
lighting of our Shabbat candles. And as Hermie comes up to light our Shabbat candles, I'd like everyone just to take a moment, just to turn to each other, wishing each other almost a Shabbat Shalom, but we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. Just say, the end to Pesach. Because tonight in the Progressive Movement formally is the end to Pesach. I'd like to welcome those of you who are joining us through our live stream. So we continue with the Shabbat blessings.
As these candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Oh
Amen.
my!
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Let's wish each other now a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב לכבודו לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Page 140. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב לכבודו לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר 142. The angels accompany us in words of Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei
Page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Amen.
Page 148. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'dvaro ma'ariv v'arabim, v'chokhmah poteach she'arim, v'bitbunah meshaneh yitim u'machalif et hazmanim, u'meseder et ha'kochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Orei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, u'ma'avir yom u'mevi layla, u'mavdil ben yom u'ben layla Adonai tzavaot shemo. El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu L'Olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Arabim.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chugim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'dovei
אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבשך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לעבדיך ושילמת לבניך, ודיברת בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשופטך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות עמדיך והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וקשרתם להיות עמדיך ובשעריך.
אומר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונטלו על ציצית הכנף וציצית תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וריתם אותו ושחקתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תצורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We wish Ethan Mazel Tov. He'll become a bar mitzvah on the 11th of May at the Mincha service, the afternoon service. So Mazel Tov. I think you're on the Bima tomorrow morning again, leading Ashrei. So we'll see you soon. So we are on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught. Before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, but there is a better place, a promised land. The winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands and marching together.
מלכותך ראו בניך בוקע לפני משה ומרים זה אלי הנתון ועללו אדוני ימלוך לעולם הארץ
Eternal One, for redeeming Israel. Page 160. Hashbivenu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom, v'amidenu malkeinu l'chayim. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our sovereign, to life with you.
Hashbivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Ha'idenu malkeinu l'chayim. Spread the shelter of your peace around. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashbivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Ha'idenu malkeinu l'chayim. Save us for the sake of faith. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashbivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, Ha'idenu malkeinu
Baruch atah Adonai, haborech sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Eternal One. The shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 162. V'shamu b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages. This is our covenant for all time.
Shabbat,
164 begins the Amidah, and as our custom, we'll recite the first 3 brachot out loud together, and then we'll continue with the prayers of our hearts, all the words on the pages coming together with Oseh Shalom, page 164.
Adonai, Sifatai Tivtach, Ufi Agitech Yiratecha, Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Vimotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanora, Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim Nekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot Ve'imahot, U'mevii Geulah Livnei Bneihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hosech Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'Israel Zara, Ata Gimel Olam Adonai, V'chayei Meitim Atara V'Hoshia, Mashiach Harach U'Morit HaGeshem, Masliach HaShemesh U'Morit HaTal, V'chakeh Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayim Meitim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Lofim V'Rofeh Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mkayem Emunato L'Shenei Afa, Mi Chamocha B'Geburot, U'Midor Melach, Melech Mimitzvot Chayeh, U'Masliach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Ata L'Chayot Meitim, Baruch Ata Adonai, Mechayeh HaMeitim, Ata Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim B'chol Yom Yahalelucha Sela, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
יהיו לרצון נמריתי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
Say
Sue Silverberg speaking from our Bema. Sue's a long time, a child of the congregation. She was born into the congregation, and that was only 25 years ago. And so we welcome you to the Bema to share a little bit with our congregation about brief history, but also really focusing on the work that we've been doing very recently on the strategic plan, the vision of where we hope to be in 5 years, but I'll let Sue tell you about that.
Shabbat Shalom. Simon Sharma described the historian's Hippocratic Oath as to wage war against forgetfulness. TBI has been a successful presence in the Jewish and wider communities for the past 89 years. But to stay successful and present, all organisations must take stock every now and then and think about and articulate what it is they're trying to achieve and how to do this. So late last year, the board instigated a strategic planning process to do just this. So in deference to Simon Sharma, I'm going to give some background to our history and formation as a background to the plan. This congregation came about by a dedicated group who were either related or friends, largely descendant of those who had arrived in Victoria by the mid-19th century, many of whose families had been pioneering in establishing other synagogues and communities in Victoria. They were individuals with a commitment to Judaism, a Judaism steeped in the Anglo-Jewish tradition as it had been transferred and developed in Australia. Ada Phillips, who is recognised as our principal founder, was born Rebecca Adelaide Crocor on the Castlemaine gold diggings in 1863. At the age of 21, she married Abraham Phillips, the son of Solomon David Phillips, who had originally migrated to Sydney in 1833, where he acted as rabbi to both the Sydney and Parramatta communities. Arriving in Victoria in 1849, the older Phillips had been unsuccessful in his application to the position as the first rabbi of the Melbourne Hebrew congregation, although he did act as a reader and loyal for them. Judaism was a strong presence in the Phillips household, and in 1855 an advertisement appeared in the Melbourne papers under Phillips' signature, advertising for a new school that would enable Jewish youth, quote, not only to obtain a liberal education comprising those branches taught in the highest establishments, but also instruction in the tenets and principles of the Hebrew faith and a thorough knowledge of the Hebrew language. TBI has always prided itself on its strong egalitarian attitudes, and many early founding members cited their dissatisfaction with the role and position of the women in Melbourne's 3 Orthodox congregations. And again, the Phillips family represented a dynasty of strong women, commencing with Ada, widowed in her 40s but who lived to 104. These were women who sought active participation in all aspects of society. Ada's niece, the Fabian and Labor politician Marion Phillips, was the first Australian woman to win a seat in the National Parliament and the only one of 2 to have been elected to the House of Commons. Another niece, Constance Ellis, was the first female Doctor of Medicine from the University of Melbourne and a senior medical officer and pathologist at the Queen Victoria Hospital, and a sister and one of the founding board members. And Ada's daughter, Isabella Phillips, was a surgeon at the Melbourne Hospital and the hospital's first superintendent, as well as her nephew, the artist Emmanuel Phillips Fox. In fact, in the 1930s, the founding committee included 5 members of the extended Phillips family, and I have to admit 4 of mine, and in so doing making it completely outside the modern version of an impartial board. But this board had a deeply intellectual approach to Judaism. considering the reforms they were making much harder than the maintenance of orthodoxy, instead devoting themselves to the promotion of a distinctly Jewish identity and to the cultivation of Jewish ideals. Rabbi Nussbaum, who served the community briefly, summed it up as, Reform Judaism is not assimilationist, but quite the opposite, a force for Jewish conservatism, in order to keep Jews within the fold and to check assimilation and not to encourage it. While at the dedication of the first synagogue building in 1937, Rabbi Dr. Sanger said that liberal Judaism sought to give modern Jewry adequate expression of their religious beliefs and assist in solving the problems of the age. Saying this, the community of the 1930s was far more radical than would be tolerated today. Men were not obliged to cover their heads, services were initially not held on a Friday night in order for families to observe the Shabbat together, but services were held on a Saturday morning and on a Sunday evening, although this waxed and waned until Rabbi Sanger was appointed. And although bar mitzvahs were not as we would recognise them today, and for the first 5 years co-ed confirmation services, they reflected our egalitarian foundation, with boys and girls participating equally in the first few years. Relevant to our strategic plan, which I will elaborate on in a moment, one of the community's first activities was the recognition that the maintenance of Judaism required the teaching of children and an ongoing commitment to the next generation. So, one of the first acts was the establishment of a religious school. This proved a successful venture, and in the first 8 months, enrolments grew from 21 to 60 students. The other innovation was the establishment of an alumni club to ensure the nucleus of a junior congregation, as well as in 1939 the hosting of an international Jewish youth forum. To ensure that the religious school was providing adequate teaching, they also established a teacher training course, which, considering my grandmother was one of the teachers and a woman who'd never actually been to school, was probably a good idea, and a range of communal and social welfare activities which we would recognise today. So how does this background all tie into a strategic plan drafted almost 90 years later? The issues that were grappled with in the 1930s are really no different than those are today. What is progressive Judaism and how do we express our values? How do we encourage the long-term sustainability of Judaism and encourage participation by further generations? What is our role in our own and wider Jewish social issues? How do we maintain and service our members? What partnerships should we be forming with other organisations? How to ensure a functioning and economically viable organisation? And what infrastructure requirements will we need? These questions are all formed around our 3 core pillars, that of a Beit Tefillah, a house of prayer, a Beit Midrash, a house of study, and a Beit Knesset, a house of gathering. In defining what is in the strategic plan, which I have a copy of here, the board held a number of roundtable discussions identifying the issues, constraints and realities of the community. From these, 5 goals were identified to underpin 10 priority areas. The 5 goals are to affirm and articulate religious practice, to build and maintain a sustained budget, align programs and initiatives with core values and core business, invest in youth and young families, and develop and grow key strategic partnerships. Clearly connecting these to the 3 pillars and delivered by 10 challenges: religious practice, education, the TBI community, membership, positioning, partnerships, people, budget, infrastructure and governance. And I will elaborate just on a couple of these now. Although our foreparents started out with a far more radical vision of their religious practice, we are now a community which is more religiously conservative. Our prayer books have more Hebrew, our services are on Shabbat, we hold b'nai mitzvahs, not confirmations. We have tried to meet the needs of various segments in our congregation by holding a variety of styles of services and welcoming non-Jewish family members. But for many, this has been a curve into a traditional stance as well as outwards. As we've evolved, our rabbis have responded to their contemporary society and wider progressive Judaism, adjusting our liturgy, music and religious practice in an effort to ensure our religious life remains relevant, accessible and meaningful to our community. This strategy requires us to review how and why we undertake specific religious practices, to support the community to participate in religious life, and to maintain our religious values while being welcoming to our non-Jewish friends. Within Judaism, education is considered to be lifelong learning, which begins at birth. Our Beit Midrash has consistently provided education programs to support our vision, formalising education for all children, for our children, and continuing through B'nai Mitzvah and into adult learning. Over the past few years, we have sought to ensure our education programs keep pace with changes in learning strategy and opportunities for adults and children. This strategy aims to engage all in educational activities, from childhood to adults, supporting B'nai and post-B'nai Mitzvah students, adult education programs, and for those in between. Without a sense of community, TBI ceases to exist. The challenge is how to ensure this sense of belonging for our disparate groups. Many new initiatives have been developed, as we all know, welcoming new members, pop-up Shabbats, but how do we ensure our ongoing community attachment, particularly for our younger members? Membership is also a vexed issue. The congregation requires members in order to function financially and to be a meaningful community. Thus, our membership strategy has two main thrusts: to ensure that we understand the values and aspirations of our members and potential members, and to identify financial models which will assist with membership costs. As similarly, positioning is also internally and externally focused. Do we, the community, understand and are able to articulate the values of progressive Judaism, and do we see this reflected in our offerings? While at the same time, the values and practices of progressive Judaism are not clearly understood by the wider community. So our challenge is both to clarify and articulate our values to our members and to those outside the progressive movement. One such outcome, as you may have already noticed, is a name change from Temple Beth Israel to Beth Israel, the fourth such name change in our 87 years. The strategy also requires TBI to develop leadership positions within the Jewish community, exerting an authoritative voice on progressive and wider Jewish issues. TBI is part of a wider progressive movement in Victoria, nationally and internationally, while at the same time we have formed partnerships with other Jewish and non-Jewish organisations to deliver a range of programs such as Nourish. How do we work together, and how do we prioritise which of these partnerships are most important to us to help us deliver the best outcomes for our wider endeavours? This strategy has been passed by the board. Now we need to develop an implementation plan and monitor this. I hope I've been able to clarify what, why and how we've developed this new strategy. I don't believe anything's radical, nor will most people notice any great changes. Rather, we are now more mindful as to what we are hoping to achieve and how we will get there. The plan is available for anyone to read and will be on the website soon. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. It's really interesting, Sue, that we are more conservative in many ways today than when we were our founding parents. So thank you for sharing that. Let's rise for Aleinu on page 506, and before that we will announce the Sfirat HaOmer. And as part of the Kaddish this evening, we will also include our tribute to and memory for Anzac Day. And so for the counting of the Omer on page 570, we share the blessing, Hineni Mukhan Uznuman Lakayem Mitzvat Aseh Shel Sfirat HaOmer, and let's join in with the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al Sfirat HaOmer. Hayom Shiva Yamim Shehem Shvuah Echad LeOmer. Today is the 7th day, which is 1 week of the Omer. Aleinu, page 586.
עלינו לשבח אדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוסף בראשית, שהחיות השמיים ויוסד הארץ, מושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, ואלוהינו אהנות.
אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומולים
of Shiva and Shloshim and Yahrzeit. And then Reuben has very kindly agreed to play the last post, and we'll have a moment of silent reveille. And during that, of course, I'll announce the names of those Anzacs that were members of this congregation who died in service, who died during the wars. And then we'll continue with reciting the Kaddish. So for the week of the Shiva, we mourn the lives so senselessly taken in Sri Lanka and the terrorist attacks, and our hearts are with the victims and their families. For the Shloshim, we remember Lorian Brown, Marie Davis, Sue Friedman, Cyril Holzman, John Kersner, Devorah Marks, Solomon Norman, Derek Prinsley, Lisa Quittner, and Joyce Watson. And the Yahrzeit anniversaries of whose death fall on this Shabbat. We remember Matilda Abraham, Gretel Barnes, Rafe Barnett, Colin David Blaschke, Rose Cherney, Sharon Pavish, Hyman Leo Fig, Ronald Friedman, Leah Fredkin, Phineas Franks, Alan Friedman, Harry Gross, Roman Halsky, Salman Henquin, Arnold Hillel, David Hillel, Robert Cam, Gary Warren Kiven, Ruth King Smith, Hilda Leder, Max Levin, Kurt Lipman, Myrna Margolis, Jacques Meschenberg, Rose Anna Michael, Tony Opat, Ruth Opat, Jean Phoebe Pearl, Tom Reed, Gerald Rosenberg, Beatrice Schock, Lily Siegel, Tessa Silverberg, Susan Tescher, and Dick Vandenberg. If you'd like to remember the name of a loved one for Shiva, Shloshim, or Yahrzeit, I invite you to share their names at this time. And so we share now the names of those Anzacs who died in service, serving our country. We remember Alexander Bennett, Leon Alfred Berliner, Harris Lionel Berliner, Arthur Peel Cohen, Alan Dite, Beryl Samuel Fries, William Goldman, Peter Ackland Jacobs, Graham Harris Joseph, Harold Walker Harris Joseph, Philip Graham Levy, Lionel Marcus, Bernard Marks, Athol Lewis Opus, and Zalman Schwartz. Remember, lest we forget, Kadisha Tom, page 598. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach yiritei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon avyomechon, v'v'chayeda chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'merur.
Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'la'admei almayat.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei l'kedusha v'richu, le'elam min kober chata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'yimeru.
Amen.
Yehei shlam araba min shemaya v'chayim alenu v'yal Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mrumav, uyaseh shalom alenu v'yal Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
As we are seated, our Vice President Joanne Lowy-Irons will share some messages, some information with us.
Shabbat Shalom. On behalf of Rebecca Silk, our President and our Board of Governance, welcome to TBI. Whether you are here in time of memory or for Shabbat, I hope you found our services meaningful. Welcome also to our past presidents and to our former board members, who I'm sure are here for Shabbat, as well as to hear Dr. Silverberg speak. Thank you, Sue, for your thorough presentation and for the work that you have done behind the scenes with others. I certainly look forward to implementing the strategic plan with its challenges and opportunities. If I look a bit frazzled tonight, it's because I'm dog sitting. I'm not known to be a dog person, and we're looking after a toy poodle. If anyone wants to drop by my house in the next couple of days, please do so, and you can take the dog for a walk. Okay, announcements. The Pesach Appeal. Many of you have already given to the Pesach Appeal, so thank you. On Sunday, we are having our phone-a-thon for the appeal, and if you can spare a couple of hours, please come down to TBI and help us out. This year, this appeal will support our activities and programs, including the Pesach Sederim that we've all enjoyed recently, as well as family learning activities. Nash and Drush, Jews in the News, continues on Wednesday the 1st of May, 10:30. It is a group discussion on recent developments in Australia, Israel and overseas, and it will be led by Rabbi Lazaro. Next Shabbat evening, Sue Hampel, OAM, who is the co-president of the Jewish Holocaust Museum, will be our guest speaker at our Holocaust Commemoration Shabbat. This will be followed by a community dinner, and I'm asked to remind you to please bring a parv and milky dish to share. That Shabbat, there's also family services, and it says here, Family Shabbat is a vibrant, refreshing, hands-on Shabbat experience, including youth involvement, activities, and the latest Jewish melodies. That's right? Okay. This service is perfect for primary age students, TBI Tamid, and Bina families. Thank you to Cantor Loom and Rabbi Ettlinger and your ensemble tonight for the beautiful service. Shabbat Shalom.
We conclude with the words of Hine Matov, how wonderful it is to be together, brothers and sisters, one community. Hine Matov Umanai.
Hine Matov Umanai Sheverachni Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanai Sheverachni Gam Yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine Matov Umanai
Before we say Kiddush, just to let you know, those of you who are keeping 8 days of Pesach, on the table to my right, on that side there is matzah, if that's what you're doing.
So for those who are keeping 7 days, we have some fruit, a little bit of a yeast feast for you. We have chalot and we have whiskey again. The red is wine, the white is grape juice, and we begin with the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei beri hagabe.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav ve'atzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'b'ratzon himhiranu zikaron le'maaseh bereishit kibu yom zechira b'mikra'e kodesh zecher b'tziat Mitzrayim
Kiranu v'acharta v'otanu kidasha mikol ha'amim.
בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש
Shabbat l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom and b'te'avon, b'te'avon. Good Shabbos.
Thank you.
If I'd seen it, I would have done it on purpose, but I didn't see it. not looking at giving me a hug and stick. Oh, it's you! Oh.
Amen.